got a fun slate of games coming up today on CBS, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. Steelers-Bills is the game we're going to talk about in a second, but fun one between the Dolphins and the Jets. Titans Commanders should have some fun fantasy performances there. Chargers and the Browns, same thing there as well. And the Texans and the Jaguars, you know I like James Robinson, so looking forward to that game this week. Joining us now here on Fantasy Football Today, as he always does, Tom Spencer, CBS Sports editorial consultant. He's in the booth with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, and he's in Buffalo for the game between the Steelers and the Bills. And Tom, crazy that the Steelers are 14-point underdogs, largest spread for them since Super Bowl 30 when they lost that game to the Cowboys. So we'll see how things go there for them in Buffalo. Let's start with the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh because Kenny Pickett making his first start. So just talk about what you're hearing from the Steelers and just how comfortable and excited they are about Pickett after he came in last week against the Jets. They did lose the game, but Pickett showed some nice things. And how does he build off that in a tough matchup against Buffalo?
Well, I think their offense changed instantly when he came in the game, Jamie. And we met with Kenny last night. Very impressive, confident. You know, he's an aggressive quarterback. You know, they want to get the ball out of his hands quickly today. The formula for a rookie quarterback to even try to have success in Buffalo, one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, is to play fast. That means calling play calls quickly, getting out of the huddle and getting up to the line of scrimmage. If they start getting behind on the play clock, could be trouble today. But he's a young quarterback that wants to get the ball down the field. Buffalo thin at cornerback a little bit, definitely thin at safety with Hyde and Poyer both out of the game today. So there are some opportunities there. Of course, he's got to get the ball in the hands of his skill position players. But I will say this, he is very confident. And one facet of the Steelers that has been a huge source of concern, as we recall, over the last 2 or 3 seasons, the offensive line. And in talking to the Steelers staff last night, they feel like right now, as we sit here in Week 5, that is actually the strength of the offense. The offensive line playing very well, getting better. So I would expect as the season moves along, the Steelers are going to be able to move the ball much more effectively in both the run and the pass.
We'll talk about the running game in a second, but sticking with the passing game here, George Pickens and Pickett seemed to have a great connection last week. 4 catches, 71 yards in the second half for Pickens when he came on. He also was looking at Pat Freiermuth. So it makes sense of the Steelers' receiving core right now, Tom, because Deontay Johnson is paid like the number 1 guy, expected to be the number 1 guy, but the rookie-to-rookie connection might be strong. Chase Claypool still in the mix. How do the Steelers looking at this depth chart here for Pittsburgh right now?
Yeah, well, you summed it up well. It is a young offense. It is a young football team, and Mike Tomlin works very well with young wide receivers, being a wide receiver himself at William & Mary, where he first encountered, by the way, Sean McDermott. Those two guys, only one losing season between them in their coaching careers. One thing I will add today, Jamie, just in terms of the weather, high winds expected, maybe 25, 30-mile-an-hour gusts. We'll see how that impacts the passing game. But to your point, the Steelers have to spread the ball around. Now, the question that befuddles most Steeler observers is why can't Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool get going? And for wide receivers in the NFL this year, targeted 20 or more times, they're both in the bottom 4 in terms of yard per reception. So the flip side of that is that Pickens has been a dynamic downfield threat. He's catching balls over 20 yards at the second best clip amongst the rookie wide receivers behind Olave in New Orleans. So he's a guy that Pickens kind of summed it up last night. Just throw it in his area code, and he's going to make spectacular catches. The one thing that you would expect, and the Steelers reiterated last night, is that Pickens has to refine his route running. This is a very precise league, and when you give quarterbacks indecisive routes, it causes confusion. So I would think that the chemistry over time will improve even better between the two rookies. But for now, he's got a lot of options. They call Freiermuth here a generational tight end for the Steelers. He's going to have a great career. He's getting down the field as well at an even better clip than last year when you talk about 20-plus yard receptions. He's got a lot of options to throw the football.
And let's talk about the run game there, because you touched on this with the offensive line, and they're trying to get better at it. But right now it's been a struggle, and Najee Harris not exactly rewarding fantasy managers at the moment after they took him in the first round. So where do they feel that he's at? Because we know he's had some injuries, dealt with the foot injury prior to training camp, got injured in week 1. Is he 100% healthy? And he's going to start to deliver like what we typically see from the Steelers running back and this run game.
Yeah, not sure if he's 100%, but getting closer to that figure than he might have been, as you point out. The injury in camp, it's been a slow evolution. But the point being, as I said earlier, if this offensive line is indeed getting better, now they'll be tested today. Buffalo's getting some players back on their defensive front. But conversely, they're going to be most likely without their middle linebacker, without the 2 safeties. So, this is a Buffalo defense that might have some vulnerability today. The bottom line, though, is they still want to get the ball in Najee Harris's hands, whether it's running the football or in open space. He can be a dynamic wide receiver. So, again, kind of getting back to Pickens today, the short passing game, the quick passes can be just as effective as running the football. Buffalo's very stout on run defense, as we know. So I think they feel like if they get the ball to Najee in space, maybe that means more catches today. We'll see. They still feel like he can be a threat, but they are not giving up on his abilities. They feel like he is not only a leader, but a future star for this team as they move forward.
Yep, and he not happy with the media saying that they can't run the ball. So, what quiets the media? A good performance. So we'll see if he does that against, as you said, a very good Bills defense that is getting healthier along the defensive front. But we know the Bills not exactly healthy with their receiving core. So Isaiah McKenzie, we're waiting to find out the status for him with concussion. Dawson Knox is not going to play. James Crowder's on IR. So if there is no McKenzie, where do we see the Bills go? Is it more for Stephon Diggs, more for Gabe Davis? Is the Davis week? Or does Khalil Shakir, the rookie who showed some things at the end of last week's game, does he start to make some plays?
All of the above. I like that. Stephon Diggs, 261 receptions since he came to Buffalo in 2020. Kind of your obvious number one, right? They're going to be looking for him today. But Gabe Davis, as you point out, since the ankle injury prior to week 2, he's only had 4 catches. But from what we hear from the Buffalo folks is that this is the best he's looked since the injury this week. I would expect Gabe Davis to be targeted a lot today. He's been a dynamic player with 10 touchdowns since last December. Josh Allen telling us, he's one of the smartest wide receivers he's ever worked with. They love him here. Gabe Davis will be a factor today. Again, Pittsburgh's thin a little bit in the secondary. Now, Fitzpatrick's going to play. Is he 100% coming off the injury? Great ball hawk, Cameron Sutton playing at a high level, but they have some vulnerability as well. And of course, as we know, no TJ Watt to rush the passer, which he did very effectively here a year ago when the Steelers won week 1. Shakir's going to be your most likely your third wide receiver in a lot of situations today. They got some good reps with him last week, and they like his ability. They think he's a smart player, runs routes well, has a second level of speed that can be dynamic. So Buffalo can push the ball down the field. They do still want to run the football, but when your leading rusher is your quarterback, that's the bottom line, is that Josh Allen can just simply ad-lib and make plays happen. He is competing at as high a level as he ever has. 4 touchdowns today, running or passing. That'll be 150 for his short and dynamic career. Josh Allen certainly leading, in my mind, the MVP race at the moment.
Oh, that'd be a fun milestone, certainly for fantasy managers, if he gets 4 touchdowns in this game against the Steelers, and would probably help the Bills cover that 14-point spread. Tom, you're the best. We appreciate your time here, as always, on Fantasy Football Today, and we look forward to the call on CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Make sure you check out Inside the NFL. Every Tuesday, they drop a new episode exclusively on Paramount+, the best place for JB and the gang to get all of your inside information. That's why they call it Inside the NFL. Again, Tuesdays, exclusively on Paramount+.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.